Omniverse. Hey, this is Kat.
And Jess.
You know, Mother She Wrote is free to listen to, but it's not free to make.
So please, consider supporting our work on Patreon or supporting Cast.
You'll get early, ad-free episodes of this show, and a whole lot more.
Head to mothershewrote.earth/support to chip in and join our community of world-saving wonderkind.
Oh, and heads up, this episode is rated T for teen. It contains smoking, violence, bullying, loss of a parent, censored expletives and harsh language, automotive fatalities, alcohol consumption, and drunkenness.
Please use your best judgment when listening, and take care of yourself.
Love you!
Dear Mom, Dad, I can't even think. I'm trying to put the words down, trying to do something real with all this, 'cause it ain't real. I don't want it to be real. So I've been drinking.
Hey, Teddy!
Whoa!
Diz, you really don't want to talk to him right now.
No, I gotta pay my respects.
Zip it, man.
Seriously, you don't wanna.
Teddy! Man, I'm so sorry about your folks.
Your funeral.
Big Ted was a legend, man. I just can't
I've been fighting.
believe it. I can't.
Teddy!
Teddy?
Kid! Don't you say it! Don't you say it! They ain't dead! I've been screaming. Whole town's been screaming. But I can't wake up from it. And when I close my eyes, I keep going back. Earth Angel.
Junior?
Yo!
There you are. We finished up the suspension in the Sandtop pickup, so your dad and I are going to take it for a drive.
Put the spurs to her.
I'm sure Phil won't mind the extra mileage.
After all the TLC we gave this old clunker? If you go out, feed Presley, and lock up.
You got it.
Oh, we're gonna test out the new tape deck, too. What you got for me, Mr. DJ?
Catch. Been working on a mixtape for Lisa. Let me know if it does the trick.
My man.
Love you, baby.
Have fun, kids. Use protection!
Junior?
Keep it down. Coyote residence?
Is that Lacey? Koyano, you sly dog.
Teddy, hey. Hi, Teddy. What's the word, boss man?
The night is young. Let's shake, rattle, and roll.
Some guy was inside one of the buckets.
Doing what?
I don't know. I slammed the thing shut and booked it.
Yeah, booked it right into a bunch of levers. The whole thing turns on. Bzz. Dizzy's white as a sheet. All the buckets are getting picked up. They're moving onto this conveyor thing. It's supposed to be loading them into a ship or something, but there's no ship. It's dropping them right into the drink.
What about the guy in the barrel?
Hope he can swim.
What's in your engine?
Black blood! Teddy!
Diz, Memphis, Ricky.
Did. You hear about Donnie Mondell?
Who's that?
The police chief's kid?
That's the one. Lil Donnie got picked up by that undercover broad at Livehouse. And he brought a big knife with him.
Bet Mommy didn't like that.
Well, Chief Mommy wouldn't have known about it, except Donnie told her, see, the knife wasn't confiscated. Donnie had to buy the knife back from the cop who didn't know he was the police chief's son. So now she's looking into it.
Donnie. How long have we been telling her?
These cops are as crooked as Ricky's pompadour.
Hey!
Maybe now they'll ease off?
Only difference between a cop and a crooked cop is the size of their take.
I'm sick of this.
Trash can.
Well, dang, Dizzy, we'll get a new trash can.
Don't make fun. We got the devil knocking at our door, and the pigs are either sitting back on their haunches or hassling us. We gotta show them whose streets these are.
These are our streets, Diz. Everybody knows it.
What's this devil jazz?
The black friggin' cloud, Koyano.
So there's a big weird cloud. I don't see why everybody's flipping their lid.
It's an old town legend. If a sunbeam shines down directly on Mount Itoi's great peak, they say the holy lowly angels come to bring good luck to the town.
It's been a minute.
Sure has. And about 100 years ago, they say the devil came instead. Just like today, a big black cloud swallowed up the peak. People disappeared. Animals went crazy. Folks say evil spirits ransacked their houses. Sound familiar?
Yeah, my whole apartment shook the other night. Stuff jumped off the shelves and kinda hung in the air. The cloud, huh?
Evil freaking spirits, man.
And there's been a lot of Elvis sightings. I mean, more than normal.
That's the usual baloney.
Yeah, well, people have been seeing weird stuff outside of town. Things out in the mountains, like monsters.
Demons!
Yeah, maybe.
Demons, Ricky.
Look, I know how it sounds, okay? But I've seen it too. The weird lights at night, the people going missing, and look.
Oh, we've all seen your mom's Polaroids, Ricky.
Yeah, we have.
Cute. Enough about my mom, all right? Just look at the damn picture.
What the heck is that?
Looks like some kind of gargoyle.
See?
Freaky.
I don't like it.
It's pretty blurry.
You took this?
I've got this friend, Marco. He lives out in the holy lowly foothills. He goes hiking around Mount Itoi. He took it. He's got lots of pictures like this. Stuff I can't explain. Monsters, huge, weird footprints. There was this squid.
Did it have dry hair?
Hey, I'm freaking serious, you guys. This is real.
Hey, I hear you, Ricky. Now look, we're the Black Blood Gang. Can the cops put a leash on us?
No.
Did the jet lizards stand a chance against us?
No.
Well, no.
When someone wants a fight, what do we say?
Bring it on, sucker.
So maybe we should have ourselves a little monster hunt, huh?
Hell yeah,
Let's get him!
Call up that pal of yours, Ricky.
I haven't been able to get a hold of him for days.
Well, tomorrow we kick some monster tail. But tomorrow doesn't always come.
Welcome back to your LA News at 9 here on Channel 9 WBTN. Coming up this morning, meteorologist Corbin Trevor forecast the weekend weather with only one black cloud on the horizon and trouble at the new Duncan factory. Residents are asking why they're fishing the still-to-open factory's industrial waste bins out of St. Patrick's River. But first, we return to our breaking news this morning. The owners of well-known local business Teddy Automotive Repair were found dead in Holy Lowly National Park, the result of a fatal car accident. We go now to Carmen
Teddy?
Kellogg, reporting with further details
Teddy?
on this tragic news.
Thanks,
Lacey. What's
Earlier
happening,
this morning, a
Get
park ranger
Teddy.
at Holy Lowly National Park identified the site of a traffic accident that occurred in the night. This was the scene this morning near Mount Etoy. A red pickup truck, mangled, practically torn in half. The victims of this fatal accident, again identified as the owners of beloved local business Teddy Automotive Repair.
An apparent speeding accident on the Holy Lowly foothills, often winding dirt roads.
They're an institution.
I believe they're gone. Everyone in town's got a Teddy sticker on their car, you know.
LA Police Department reminds you to drive safely.
When the reporters cut to the close-up of the wreck being pulled from the ditch, I saw it. Claw marks, torn into the red paint of the pickup. Not scrapes from a rock or a tree. Uniform, repeating like strings on a guitar or lines on a road. Like the talons of that thing in the photograph. A crash didn't rip a truck in two. It was a monster. We rode into the night. Me, Koyano, Memphis, and Ricky. Down the same roads you drove. Out where the stars glitter so bright. Except for the shadow over Mount Etoy. The cloud blotted out the stars, like a stain on the universe. A big nothing. Ricky was in the lead, taking us down back roads, into the woods, to the trailer of his friend who'd taken the photos.
Is this it? It's dark as heck out here.
Marco? Marco, you here? It's Ricky.
Flashlight, Teddy.
Hit me. The trailer was in a clearing. Under the sky and with the dark woods surrounding it, it felt exposed.
This your guys' truck, Rick?
Yeah. Marco? Marco, open up, man! I don't get it.
Let me see the lock, Rick.
Jeez, Christ.
We rounded the corner of the trailer and our flashlight beams danced on jagged metal edges. The wall of the trailer was peeled open like a can.
No.
Oh, hell!
Teddy.
Claw marks.
Yeah, I see that, man.
Wait a minute. Teddy, give me more light over here.
What the heck?
Looks like tracks.
The gargoyle.
I guess so.
Oh, this is bad. This is real frickin' bad. Marco?
Ricky! Get down, you idiot!
Here. Something being dragged.
Is that a burn mark?
No more tracks. Just a black circle.
Ugh, it smells weird.
I turned around, pointing the flashlight back at the trailer. It was ripped open from the kitchen windowsill diagonally to the floor, torn wide from something that wanted to get inside. But then, off to the other side, a perfect slice in the wall, like a big welding torch was taken to it.
We should bail, Teddy.
No, we need proof. Koyano, keep watch. Memphis, help Ricky and me look around.
Give me a flashlight or something.
Do you want a target on you? Stay out of sight. Get your night eyes.
Man, he's gone. They got him. They freaking got him, man.
This gash in the wall is totally smooth. It's like it's melted.
Ricky, where's the photos?
They freaking took him, Teddy. Marco.
Ricky! Get it together. Where's the damn photos?
Leave him be, Ted. I found him.
Cripes.
You said it.
That's a flying saucer.
Yeah.
Folks have been saying they've seen them. I thought it was just the tabloids, but alien gargoyles?
Makes more sense than the devil, I suppose.
Aliens killed my mom and dad.
This is all getting a bit too real for me, man. Shoot, the squid! Jesus, it's got 3 eyes and teeth.
Across the floor, under a chair, I saw the Polaroid camera. Upside down, lost in the chaos, a photo sticking out of it.
What's that?
Marco's last photo.
Hell.
I held it up, and the image just about matched the hole directly in front of us. The interior wall lit up by the camera flash, the slice in the wall glowing fresh. And outside, a blurry shape, like a white spacesuit, reflecting like a street sign.
Guys, turn off your lights, quick.
What is it?
The sky.
They moved crazy, like bugs, hovering one moment, zipping the next. Saucers.
I think I heard something in the woods. We need to go now.
Come on, Ricky, get up.
What?
What's in your engines?
Okay, I definitely heard that.
That's right, Teddy.
What's in your engines?
Black blood, Ted, but for crying out loud.
We stay and fight!
It's crazy.
Hey! E.T.!
No!
You come to our town! Our planet!
What is he doing?
Teddy!
We're the Black Blood Gang! This is our turf! Our sky!
Teddy! Damn it! We got the proof you wanted. Knock it off, man.
They were my parents! My mom and dad!
You think your folks want to see you dead, too?
Here they come!
2 saucers swooped down, and they were closer than they seemed.
Whoa, they're little. Huh.
Where's Marco, you creeps?
Yeah, and don't come back.
It ain't over.
Oh, shoot, Ricky, you pissed him off.
A white light flickered in the woods.
It's in the trees. It's coming.
The spaceman.
Teddy, let's go.
No.
Initiating protocol Gamma.
Someone wants a fight. What do we say?
Gamma.
Teddy, I love you, man. I know you're
You
hurt.
weaklings want to run? Then run.
Toyano, move.
Teddy!
Get to the chopper.
Spaceman hovered towards me in a flash. I could hear the gargoyles and who knows what else growling in the forest. Bring it on, suckers.
Subject outside.
It bled. Just like us. Black blood. Some kind of machine. The gargoyles were another matter. 2 of them came for me, shrieking, spitting fire, and moving fast. In the darkness, my only advantage was that the glow of their mouths told me where their throats were. Their guts stank like chemicals. I barely made it out alive, with little to show for it. I'd seen the face of my parents' killers, but my proof didn't amount to squat. The cops blew me off. The papers laughed in my face. As for my gang, the ones that aren't hiding are running wild, raising hell like the world's ending. Maybe it is. My world already ended. But I'll be damned if I'm gonna sit by and let those things take what's left. Devil, monster, alien, evil spirit, freak of nature, I don't care. I will wage a one-man war if I have to. I won't stop. Bring it on, suckers. This hatred, it'll never go away.
Welcome to Mother, She Wrote, a travelogue diary through the strangest, most thought-provoking, most heart-rending video games ever made, Mother, as it's called in Japan, and EarthBound, as it's called everywhere else. This is the story of the first game in that series, EarthBound Beginnings. Who's in your podcast?
Jess Mudd!
And I'm Cat Blackblood Blackard.
Let's rock and roll.
As you've just heard, this is a very different episode of Mother, She Wrote.
Yeah, in EarthBound Beginnings, we don't know much about the final player character, Teddy, or his motivations.
So, unlike previous episodes, very little of what you've heard in the audio drama is explicitly in the game.
But that's where the MOTHER Encyclopedia comes in. As it turns out, Teddy has the biggest backstory of any of the main characters. So much so that he warranted his own episode before we meet back up with Ninten, Anna, and Lloyd.
So this episode, we're not discussing gameplay.
Mm-mm.
We're not sharing our most smashable enemies or most favorite Mother melodies.
Sure aren't.
We're exclusively reading from the MOTHER Encyclopedia to dive deep on this character who, as you've heard, has a lot going on.
We'll also learn what there is to know about the... BB gang?
Yeah, that's what the Black Blood Gang are called in the localized EarthBound Beginnings. The BB Gang, or Blah Blah Gang.
We'll also learn a bit about the town they're from, Ellay, before we visit it in depth in the next episode.
We hope you'll pardon this break in format. Our scrappy young heroes will return before too long.
But first, let's check in with community news and more in the Mother's Day Times.
Well, gosh, there's a lot happening this summer. It's a big anniversary year, after all. The 35th anniversary of Mother and the 30th anniversary of Mother 2. So this here is a jam-packed special edition of the Mother's Day Times.
To start, before it gets too far in the rear view, we wanted to give a shout out to the incredible crew of actors who brought the Black Blood Gang to life, the cast of the Penumbra Podcast.
The Penumbra Podcast is what you might call a 2-in-1 audio drama. It's one podcast feed that's home to two fantastic stories, Juno Steel, a sci-fi noir, and Tales of the Second Citadel, a high fantasy story. Listen to them at thepenumbrapodcast.com or just search the Penumbra Podcast on your favorite podcast player. Juno Steel and Second Citadel are wonderful and where you should go to hear more of these amazing actors.
And maybe you'll also hear them in future episodes of Mother, She Wrote.
Maybe. Well, one person you're sure to hear more of is Teddy, played by Christian Young. You may know him as Zero in Red vs. Blue or for his work in the horror anthology audio drama Afflicted. And if you like our portrayal of Teddy and the gang, you may also like the gritty, live-action trailer we made for this episode. Depending on when you're listening to this, it's either out now or coming soon because...
It's time once again for Mother Direct.
Yes, the annual explosion of art, games, and projects inspired by the Mother series returns for its 5th year, Saturday, July 27th at 6 p.m. Eastern. Just head to mother.direct.
If it's already out, you can watch the full presentation now and catch our trailer alongside the incredible smorgasbord of exciting reveals that are earthbound to surprise and delight.
Haha.
Or you can check out our trailer a la carte on our Mother She Wrote YouTube account. But if Mother Direct hasn't hit yet, then subscribe to their feed and mark your calendar for Saturday, July 27th, and head to mother.direct.
Since we last info-dumped on the world of Mother, one big official anniversary bash has come and gone, and one is announced and still to come.
On June 22nd, there was a ticketed live streaming event, The Music of Mother, presented by Hobonichi and featuring Mother 1 and 2 composers Hip Tanaka and Keiichi Suzuki. It featured a DJ set by Tanaka remixing themes from the games, and an all-star band led by Keiichi Suzuki playing songs from the Mother 2 score and Mother 1 soundtrack. In between those segments was a candid discussion between Shigesato Itoi, Suzuki, Tanaka, and a special guest appearance by Mother 3's composer Shogo Sakai.
Yeah, that was amazing because as far as I know, all those creators have never been together in the same place talking about the games. But he wasn't the only surprise guest. Undertale's creator Toby Fox appeared via his pixelated dog avatar to speak about the importance of the series' music.
That was incredibly wild to see. The influence and connection between Mother and Undertale is a well-known thing, but having that connection recognized in such a big way in an official event like this was really surprising.
Yeah, it surprised Toby Fox, too. On Twitter afterward, he said that he didn't realize he was going to be the only person sending in a message, and so that was a big honor for him. As of now, this awesome event is not available to stream, and there's no word if it's going to be released elsewhere in the future. Also, the conversation between Itoi, Suzuki, Tanaka, and Sakai wasn't subtitled, so here's hoping we see a translated transcription sometime soon.
In other hip Tanaka news, we've got a new album coming out, a new album of old music. He scoured hundreds of demos from the past 30 years to release more lost tapes, a 2-disc collection of 50 songs including early drafts of Pokemon theme songs and prototype game music.
It's unclear if there's any work composed for Mother 1 or 2 on it, but if you're a fan of his music, this is a really exciting collection.
Earlier this month, Hobonichi released a trailer for the next big Mother anniversary event, The Secrets of Mother 2. It's an exhibit of behind-the-scenes production materials for EarthBound and promises to be a treasure trove of never-before-shared details about the game's development, unused enemies, unseen towns.
Yeah, one of the big things fans have noticed in these preview images is a 5th town in Eagleland, Fivrant, and a list of real-world cities that EarthBound's towns were originally intended to correspond to. Fivrant was going to be modeled after Cape Canaveral.
And what does that mean?
Right? I mean, a shuttle launch facility, I'm guessing? But is it a full town like the others? Was sleepy little Titusville, Florida slated to be in Mother 2? Keen-eyed fan Snake Shroom pointed out that in the Mother 1+2 art book, there's an illustration of what's said to be an early concept of Dr. End and its lab, and there's a NASA-style rocket platform there. Maybe this points to the other title that Nintendo of America originally trademarked alongside EarthBound, Spacebound? We don't know, but maybe we'll find out.
From what we gather, the exhibit will be a chronological exploration of the writing, planning, and designing that made the game we love today. And EarthBound's famous clay models will be on display.
We'll talk more about those in an upcoming Dimensional Slip episode.
The exhibit runs through August 1st through September 8th in Tokyo at Shibuya Parco. And there's 4 satellite exhibitions in Osaka, Nagoya, Sapporo, and at the Hobonichi building in Tokyo. These smaller pop-ups will sell Hobonichi's EarthBound anniversary merch with some reproductions of the material from the main exhibit. But the one at Hobonichi will feature 3 clay models unique to the location. It's unclear if the other satellites will too.
Of course, that's all in Japan. But here in the States, EarthBound fans are used to making our own fun. Starman.net is proud to present the EarthBound Funktastic Gameplay Summer, sponsored by Porco Trade. It's a completely cool, multifaceted online event running from July 22nd to August 26th, where the whole community plays EarthBound together.
The whole community? Even us?
Even us, Jess. Every few days, Starman.net will announce a new point in the game for folks to play to, and there's an official live stream where different folks from the EarthBound community plays each section of the game, including us. Catch us on the stream July 30th and in the replays thereafter. As part of the Funktastic Gameplay Summer, there's also fan creation contests, a Mother-themed food and recipe event, and a community-wide scrapbook for people to share photos at their sanctuary locations. And apparently we're legally obligated to read this. Jess, could you do the honors?
Yeah, sure. Our sponsor, Porco Trade, is Eagleland's most famous financial institution and is not affiliated whatsoever with PokeMinch, the Minch Foundation, or the Minch family. Porco Trade is a very legal, very cool institution that has never been proven in court to be involved with organized crime or eldritch horrors. Visit www.porcotrade.com today to receive 2,000 Eagleland dollars to put towards your favorite investment opportunities. The highest earners at the start of each EarthBound Funktastic Summer gameplay point will be able to pick challenges for the next host. Kat, what is this?
I don't know, but it sure sounds like making a profit from contributing nothing of value to society has never been easier. Guess I'd better head to www.porcotrade.com, that's P-O-R-C-O trade.com, and make an investment in a good time.
Very mysterious. Talk about a cryptocurrency. Well, it wouldn't be a proper Mother's Day time segment without hearing from you. Magnificent Noodle Noggins, so dear to our hearts, sending us PK love and mother memories.
Oof, I don't know if we should keep calling our listeners Noodle Noggins, Jess.
What? Why not?
Well, our intrepid researcher BioZilla wrote in and said that he found out that the word that was localized as Noodle Noggin in Mother is actually an insult that means something like dull-witted pig in Japanese.
But our listeners aren't dull-witted pigs.
Oh, no, I think they're very intelligent, and I wouldn't presume they're species.
But they are cute little Noodle Noggins.
Fair enough.
Like Despy, who wrote in and said, my favorite part of the game is Ellay, and my favorite party member is Teddy. So I'm excited to see how you will adapt both the town and Teddy into the show. Peace, love, and plasma beams.
We hope we did you right, Despy. There's much more Teddy and Ellay to come. Sanjay Shukla commented on one of our episodes via Spotify and said, did you know that there might have been a battle against Pippi in the game originally? There's a battle sprite in the game's files. You might have been more on the money than y'all thought.
Fighting Pippi, huh? You mean like my theory about Pippi being zombified or in disguise?
Yeah. It turns out that in the data for EarthBound Beginnings, there's an unused battle sprite that looks almost identical to Pippi's clay figure. But there's bags under her eyes and her skin is white.
Aha!
Yeah, it turns out there's a theory that at some point in development, Pippi was intended to turn into or made to act like a zombie and had to be fought as a boss, regaining all senses once she was defeated.
Like a pseudo-zombie. They're people who aren't dead, but were being zombified. You know what this means, Kat? I was right!
It does mean that. It does mean that you're very intuitive. It's a real possibility that that's what was going on. In related news, I've learned via Reddit user Sylvester Redberry that Pippi's player stats are identical to Teddy's. She's just at a much lower initial level. Which is further curious because there are some early production images of Mother that show Teddy with Ninten in early parts of the game. Well, that doesn't mean much, I guess.
Could be nothing.
Could be nothing.
But here's something. Ryan wrote in and said, Dear Kat and Jessica, I had never played any of the EarthBound series. I lie a little because at some point I did play 10 minutes or so of EarthBound on SNES because it was my husband's favorite game growing up and I wanted to give it a try, but it didn't really grab me at the time. We recently moved halfway across the U.S., traumatizing our 3 cats with a 2-day road trip from California to Texas. Podcasts and NPR are my preferred soundtrack for a road trip. My husband, not so much. But I heard of your podcast and loaded my phone up because I thought it would be a perfect compromise. You all delighted, entertained, and very much kept us awake and sane over those 2 days. I immediately started playing EarthBound Beginnings once we arrived at our new home. I love the dramatizations, the in-depth discussion, historical information, the dimensional slip interviews, and, as a musician myself, I absolutely love Jessica's original compositions for this project. Thank you very, very much for sharing the joy of this series and the engaging drama of the fanbase and their relationship with these games and its developers. I look forward so much to future installations of this podcast.
My heart, Ryan. My heart.
Mine too.
Thank you. It means so much to hear that we got this weird premise right and that our show could be another point of bonding between you and your husband. Thank you for checking it out, and thank you for writing in.
And thank you for inviting our adventures alongside your own. We hope your new town treats you right.
Big time. If you'd like to write to us, shoot us an email at dearmothersherewrote@gmail.com. Send us cool facts or punch us right in the feels with sweet stories. The power is yours.
So, last time you heard from us, we were about to head to Japan for the first time on a whirlwind vacation.
It was amazing, and we've got lots of thoughts and experiences to share about that adventure. And because I love mixing pleasure with business, we also did an interview for Mother She Wrote while we were there.
That's right. We hung out with community member Lone and Koala and Moraishi, the first and second biggest collectors of Mother materials in the world.
They showed us the most rare, holy grail Mother memorabilia of all time, and we interviewed them about it. Stay tuned for a future Dimensional Slip, where they share their crazy stories about collecting and discuss the differences in the fandom between Japan and the U.S.
We close this Mother's Day Times with a message from Shigesato Itoi, who took to social media earlier this year with a new reflection on the series title.
Why is this game called Mother? I've probably explained it many times, and everyone thinks they already know. As someone who's now 75 years old, my thoughts are very simple. Maybe I wanted to say Mother out loud to the world. Ever since I was a kid, I kind of forbade myself from thinking about the idea of mother. My parents divorced before I was old enough to remember, and growing up without a mom was just a given. The worst part about it all was when people would try to show sympathy about my situation. Oh, you poor thing, they'd say. That's the only thing that really hurt. I thought I was okay not having a relationship with my mom, and got used to growing up without her. Although it's been decades at this point, that lack of feeling towards my mother may have put some kind of strain on my heart. And at last, I finally found an opportunity to say that forbidden word, mother, out loud. Well, at least that's something like how I imagine I felt. Actually, there was one other person who did the exact same thing before me. His name was John Lennon. He screamed mother as loud as he could. Hearing that shout sent shivers down my spine. It's amazing the things you realize over time. But no matter how much time passes, we never really know what we're thinking, do we?
If you've listened to this podcast before, you already know most of this. But this is the first time Itoy has talked about this aspect of titling the game so clearly, so publicly, and it sounds like with a renewed perspective on what was at the heart of naming the game Mother.
Thank you for joining us in this massive Mother's Day times. Back to you, Kat and Jess. We'll see you next times. We head now to the mean streets of Ellay. But of course, Ellay isn't called Ellay. And as we mentioned in the past, in prior episodes, it's not L.A. short for Los Angeles. It is phonetically Ellay, LA.
Right.
It's definitely just like Spokane or Spokane earlier in the game. This is another little throw to a real city in America done by the localizers.
Right,
But,
so it's called something different in the Japanese version in Mother, right?
yep, keeping in theme, this city's called Valentine.
Valentine, okay.
Which I like. I think it's classy. I think having this rundown town called Valentine is a really classy move. It has a kind of romantic hoodlum energy, a little bit of like kind of Romeo and Juliet.
Romantic hoodlum?
Yeah, like West Side Story, like Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like gangs that are fighting in the streets and
snapping
to the beat. The blah blah gang.
Maybe. Of course, they're not called the Blah Blah Gang either. They're called the Black Blood Gang. There's a couple reasons we can guess about why the localizers may have changed that, like blood, for starters, being something that they've already censored in sprites for the games, implying violence, and then maybe associating the word blood with the actual gang, the Bloods. These are just two of a slew of reasons that this might have been something they changed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The encyclopedia describes Ellay as a townscape that somehow brings to mind East Village in New York, a violent town that feels like a time warp to the 50s. Juvenile crime is high here, so keep a watchful eye on your wallet and other personal belongings.
So that almost sounds like they took inspiration from movies like Grease when they were designing this town.
Yeah, it's interesting where the inspiration may have come from. For example, in a 1989 interview, Itoy talks about how he went to Chicago on business, and he said, "I fell in love with the houses and streets I saw there. I made great use of that experience for Mother." That said, I don't really see much of Chicago at all. To me, LA, and the way that we're going to hear it described throughout this episode, it's talking about a town that had a big business boom in the mid-century, and then that receded. So the town kind of went into hard times. It's also obsessed with Elvis. To me, that sounds like places like Detroit and Memphis and like southern cities that have had big booms, or like cities that are not, well, they're not Los Angeles and they're not Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's probably an amalgamation of big American cities.
Yeah, but then a burnt out version of it. So that kind of like gives the Detroit angle some,
Sure.
but then again, like if Itoy hasn't been to Detroit and wasn't thinking about Detroit, then it's not Detroit.
Yeah, well, LA was a name that was ascribed to it by the localizers. And if Itoy was saying that Chicago was his inspiration for LA or for Valentine.
Well, he said it was his inspiration for Mother at large, not specifically this town. But this is, by all accounts of the characters in the game, this is the biggest city in the game.
Yeah, and it's coastal. There's a harbor that's there. So, yeah, it makes sense that it would be like Los Angeles or New York or a place like that.
Yeah. Then if we're trying to imagine topography, then that big ocean out there is actually the Great Lakes, but it's, it's not. It's anything.
Or if it was New York, I mean, based on its placement on the map in EarthBound Beginnings, which is in the far northeast, it kind of makes sense that might be New York. But then Mount Itoy is even more directly to the east of LA.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah. It's, I mean, these are not real towns. They don't have full correspondences. So that's, yeah.
We could sit here and spin a yarn endlessly about what may or may not have been the inspiration for LA. But what's important is what happens in the game.
And in the encyclopedia. So let's get a little bit deeper into the details of the town. There was an automobile company that boasted the highest ranked shares in the nation, and the biggest success was a factory for weapons parts during the Korean War. In the blink of an eye, the north section was turned into one big commuter town, and the laborers who had gathered here had suburban homes. And all the men assumed the roles of the father knows best dad.
Yeah, that does sound like Detroit.
But as soon as the war was over, the auto company closed the factory down and pulled up stakes, and since that day, the town has changed into a slum, the streets flooded with pompadour-sporting hoodlums. Going into the 60s, those youth at a prime age for labor disappeared from town, having been drafted for the Vietnam War, and in their place, boys too young for the draft, wasted with drugs and alcohol, began to stand out in the crowds. This is something that happened in every town in the country, but this town set the bar somehow. In the 70s, a candidate for mayor used the slogan, "Let's bring in a high-tech Japanese factory on the heels of the weapons factory." The day after he was elected mayor, it was uncovered that he had taken a huge monetary bribe from a Japanese corporation, and in the end, the town never did get back on its feet. Now, the character of the town of Ellay, how to interpret this slummy, beat-down town of young hoodlums, well, the encyclopedia says that even the hoodlums who saunter around town have a certain longing for days gone by. Valentine chocolatier billboards, that's Valentine the town, show Jack in his checkered 50s style button down and Betty with her 50s ponytail, both smiling with their heart-shaped chocolates. Everyone in Valentine has their hearts stuck in the 50s, even the kids. And they weren't alive to see it. The hoodlum gangs sport enormous, well-greased pompadours on their heads, and their Japanese-made radio cassette players belt out nothing but rock and roll. Far and away, the most popular music from the radio station is that of Presley and Ricky Nelson. Even in the residential area uptown, the boys and girls sport the same Ivy League look. In fact, it's immediately apparent walking the streets that this town gets picked a lot for Japanese commercial shoots. But, and this could be retaliation against Japanese corporations, applying to town hall for a shooting permit costs a fee of $10,000, so be wary if you're in photography.
Well, I'm all shook up.
Oh. So yeah, a lot of weird info crammed in here. You know, Itoi and I presumably the other folks who like worked on the, let's say, writing into this game probably had commercial careers since they came from everywhere but video games for the most part. So here's notes about shooting commercials in the States, which may have been part of the business that Itoi was in the States for.
Sure.
Could be interrelated. And you get a little bit of like an implication. There's a 50s edge going on with the live house and so forth, but not as strongly as they're like, no, literally. This is the 21st century primetime drama Riverdale, based on the Archie comics. That's what they're describing in the Mother Encyclopedia. I think it's important to mention this kind of focus on the 50s and so forth. This is something that was happening a lot in pop culture, both in Japan and the States, from the 1970s through the entirety of the 1980s with an increasing frequency, in fact. Like early in the 70s, there was like American Graffiti, George Lucas's pre-Star Wars film. Then Happy Days ran from 1974 to 1984 on television. Grease was 1978. And in the 80s, we had films like Diner, Back to the Future, Peggy Sue Got Married, Blue Velvet, Stand By Me, Dirty Dancing, Hairspray, The Wonder Years, My Neighbor Totoro, which Shigesato Itoi was in as a voice actor, and Dead Poets Society, all before this game came out.
Yeah.
And those are just like the big ones. And of course, The Wonder Years was a television show, probably not seen in Japan, but all these other movies, especially things like Blue Velvet and Stand By Me, those were major touchstones in Japan because Japan, for reasons that I'm not qualified to particularly talk on, has something of an obsession with mid-20th century American youth. And in the case of things like David Lynch stuff, tragedy of mid-century American youth. So this town appears to be very much wrapped up in all of that. Now, let's dig into the backstory of the man of the hour, the blah blah boss, Teddy. In the game, we don't know too much about him before we meet him, except a couple bits of dialogue from people around town.
There's actually a little redheaded girl who's walking around the streets that says, "It's a secret, promise not to say that I told you," and then tells you the blah blah boss, Teddy's real name is Teddy Jr. the Third. But it's only a rumor, though.
Only a rumor. Who knows? There is no way it's a rumor. Let's just say Teddy has every reason to be proud of being Teddy the Third. It's maybe if he had some kind of other like name in there that he could be sensitive about. Like that might be the problem.
Yeah. And perhaps the most important line of dialogue is from a girl in the music venue, The Live House, who says, Teddy's parents were killed by mountain creatures. Before that, he was a gentle kid.
Yeah, and that line, super important. If you miss that and you don't have the encyclopedia to fill you in on the rest, you'd be totally clueless about Teddy.
All right, so you got me in suspense here. What else is there to know?
Well, Itoe said that Teddy has a funny role, sort of like Koji Tsuruda in a Ken Takakura movie. Ken Takakura and Koji Tsuruda performed together in many Yakuza movies in the 60s. So, something about that energy is a part of the way that he perceives Teddy, though, like all the main characters in this game, the only real dialogue we get is in very, very brief moments, mostly just as they're joining the party. So that's been a good touch point for thinking about how I should imagine Teddy as a character, as well as all the background that's provided in the Mother Encyclopedia. Here's the lowdown on Teddy. Just about every old clunker car that goes through Valentine Town has a Teddy sticker on the bumper. Teddy is the name of the only auto repair shop in town, which just goes to show that he probably comes from a line of people who've been doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
Just like you got say a Buc-ee's sticker or something, you got a Teddy sticker on your car. 3-year-old Teddy would sit on the hood of a T-Bird that was in the middle of repairs and snap his fingers in time to the rock and roll coming from the car radio. The look on his face when he'd pull a chocolate cigarette from the back pocket of his well-worn children's jeans would make Presley look like an infant in comparison. Teddy was 5 when he discovered the pleasure of fighting. On his 10th birthday, he smoked his first real cigarette, and that same year, he'd grown to 5'7".
5'7", okay. At age 10.
At age 10, yeah. He was 11 when he got his first ride home in a police car. He was 12 when he lied and said that he was nearly twice his age to take up a late-night part-time job at the Live House. He was 13 when, with his wages, he got his parents a Siamese cat.
Aw. That's
Right?
very sweet.
I love this kid. The encyclopedia is like describing some kind of rockabilly Paul Bunyan legend here.
Yeah.
It's like they've only been told crazy rumors about Teddy.
Yeah.
We don't know if any of this is true.
Like a 1950s greaser Robin Hood who works on cars and listens to rock and roll.
When he turned 14, Teddy became the leader of Valentine's group of hoodlums, the Black Blood Gang. Now, guess what? We don't know how old he is right now. His age is unspecified.
Really?
So my guess is that Teddy's probably 16 or 17.
Yeah, that makes sense.
His favorite things are his guitar. He likes to hear jaunty rockabilly numbers like Blue Suede Shoes at Valentine's Live House, but I hear when he's alone in his room, there are times he'll play the guitar and croon a quiet ballad. A bruiser and a poet.
Yeah, he's got a heart.
Yeah. He also loves cigarettes. Now, Jess, there's a photo of the cigarettes that he loves to smoke.
Really?
It's a real brand of cigarettes.
Uh-huh.
They're called horse cigarettes, Jess.
What?
In the Mother Encyclopedia, there's a photo of this thing.
What is this game? What is this game even?
They're a brand of Mexican novelty cigarettes.
Horse cigarettes.
Yes. So we're just going to say crap.
We're going to be adults about this.
Genuine horse crap cigarettes. Mild, sweet, stable blended. Horse crap cigarettes are made from the finest grade domestic and imported horse crap obtainable. Only fresh, mild horse crap is used, not mule crap. And they are roasted to keep that mild, sweet taste. Not touched by human hands. Manufactured by Horse Crap Cigarette Company, Crapville, USA.
Oh my God.
That's a real thing.
Oh my God.
Teddy loves them.
I'm done. That's it. Go home, everybody.
Teddy also has a pet iguana.
Of course he does.
He doesn't like it. It was right after Teddy became the leader of the Black Blood Gang that they had a rumble with the Jet Lizard Gang. Of course, the Black Blood Gang took the victory, and the defeated Jet Lizard leader pledged his loyalty to Teddy, and as proof, presented him with a live iguana.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy is by nature not crazy about reptiles, but not one to let someone's kindness go to waste. Got stuck with the iguana.
So we got the Jets and the Blahs. Okay.
Yeah.
So, wow. Okay.
Of course,
Teddy is an interesting character.
Yeah. Of course, having a gang called even the Jet Lizard, the Jets are one of the rival gangs from West Side Story.
Right.
And there's a gang called the Sharks in EarthBound. So, yeah.
Okay. It's all starting to fall into place now.
Another one of his favorite possessions is a Japanese book. It's the autobiography of Akichi Izawa, a rock and roller from Japan. And this particular book, the one pictured, is called Nariagari, which means upstart. And it was edited by a little guy you may have heard of, Shigesato Itoi.
Of course.
Now, this guy, Izawa, is an absolute legend of Japanese rock and roll.
Okay.
In the context of Teddy's life, this was given to him by Koyano, a member of the Black Blood gang with Japanese-born parents. Teddy can't read the Japanese, but it says he absorbs plenty of the messages from this rock and roller from a Far East country.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a little history on Yazawa, because I think it's safe to say that he and Itoe are at least a little tight. Not only did Itoe help pen Yazawa's autobiography, but he also wrote some of the lyrics for Yazawa's 1979 album, Kiss Me Please.
What, really? Wow.
This is...
He does so much.
He does so much. Not only Itoe, as we may have mentioned, also has his own musical album, which was performed with some of the Moonriders, but maybe all the Moonriders, I'm not sure. But he's written lyrics for a bunch of different people. So, and this is a pretty big deal. Yazawa is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So this is interesting.
So is this album similar to the type of music that Teddy likes to listen to?
You know, I actually haven't listened to it yet. I just found this out that he wrote lyrics for it. But
okay. Well, we should listen to it.
I intend to listen to it.
And you should listen to it. In fact, listen to it and then send us an email at dearmothershewrote@gmail.com and let us know what you thought.
Yeah, it stands to reason that it probably sounds at least something like the kind of music that Teddy would be listening to in 1980s Valentine-town or Ellay, as the case may be. All that is to say that I think Yazawa likely informs at least some part of the energy that Teddy and Valentine at large come from. Like combining, let's say, Itoe's past life as a motorcycle-riding young hooligan, and maybe this guy's life. Maybe they rolled together. I don't know.
Maybe they shared each other's leather jackets.
Maybe. Wait, what?
I don't know. Isn't that what cool motorcycle people do?
I think they have their own leather jacket and they're highly protective of it.
Okay.
I don't know. I've
see.
never been in a motorcycle gang.
Yeah, me neither.
He was born in Hiroshima on September 14th, 1949. His father was a cycle shop owner but died of radiation sickness when he was in the second grade. His mother disappeared when he was 3 years old, and he was mainly raised by his grandmother in poverty, where he was bullied by the other kids in school, and as such started to think and practice, quote, being big. When he was a junior in high school, he became interested in listening to music such as The Ventures and the Beatles, which led him to a career as a rock musician. He started to learn the guitar, and on New Year's Day of 1969, he composed his first song, I Love You, Okay?
Aggressive about it.
Yeah. In 1972, he formed the band Carol. Their style was deeply influenced by the Beatles, especially when they were based in Liverpool, so the leather jacket era of the Beatles before Brian Epstein made them all bowl cuts and suits. Mm-hmm. With their rider's jacket and pompadour hairstyle and early rock and roll numbers, the band gained notable popularity and greatly influenced Japanese popular music.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, and this is weird. It's possible that Ninten's mom being named Carol is a reference to this band.
Really? Okay.
We don't know.
Could be.
Yeah, could be.
It's a neat coincidence, at least.
It's a suspicious coincidence. So this is some of the black blood, if you will, running through Teddy's entire, personal and social ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
The creative makeup of who he is. Those guys from the Yakuza movies, this situation here, yeah.
Yep, it's all right there. You can just see it. You just, look at Teddy, you just take him, and he has those, really sharp sunglasses. He's top-heavy, extremely muscular, tight-fitting clothes, the amazing pompadour. He's ready to go to a sock hop or a drive-in theater or something like that.
No. Jess, he's not ready to go to a sock hop. He's ready to bring a fight to the sock hop that all the preppy kids are trying to have.
Right.
And that night's going to get turned upside down. If he's at the drive-in theater, he's going to be one of the gangs at the drive-in theater that make it so that mom and dad aren't really sure if you should be necking at the drive-in theater. Mm-hmm. You might end up necking with the black blood.
Well, happy days are here again, and... And, there's enough buzz to worry about, so maybe a Fonz as well.
Teddy is not a friendly Arthur Fonzarelli type. He lives a life of misery because his parents are dead.
Yeah, from what little we can tell, he's going to get revenge on the monsters that killed them.
Each character profile for the playable characters in the encyclopedia has a little sort of short story vignette, and Teddy's is called... The Hatred Will Never Go Away, a day in the life of Teddy.
So dramatic.
Teddy awakens from a nightmare. Dusk isn't far off. He sits up in bed and lights a cigarette, not bothering to open the curtains. He doesn't want to see Holy Lily Mountain. Several days ago, Teddy's parents wanted to test out a pickup truck they had finished repairs on, so like they always did, they headed for the Holy Lily area. Teddy knew the drive was doubling as a date. He felt rather happy for the two of them in their youthfulness. So Mom and Dad were going to go necking up at the lookout point or whatever. Unfortunately, on TV news the next day, Teddy saw a pickup truck that had been torn right into. The announcer had relayed the police's opinion that it had possibly been a speeding accident, but this went in one ear and out the other for Teddy. All he saw was the work of some kind of nebulous monster. The grief of losing his parents, coupled with feelings of helplessness, has carried him this very day to Valentine's Live House. Teddy smashes the beer bottle he's drunk dry. Teddy tries to drown his sorrows in senseless fighting. Not even the Live House owner is able to find words to console him. Meanwhile, on the streets, the Black Blood gang, deprived of their leadership, have been reduced to the level of mad, unchained dogs.
Wow. Sounds like Teddy needs therapy.
Yeah, well, hey, there's no therapy quite like going up a mountain and smashing some aliens in the face.
That's true.
Doesn't that sound like the right kind of therapy for a guy like Teddy?
Yeah, it does. And you can put his rage to good use.
But we'll get into the nitty-gritty gameplay of that in the next couple episodes. So, just to make it clear in here as a document of EarthBound Beginnings, what we did in this audio drama. You've now heard all of the data that I used, with a couple exceptions. There's some other stuff a little bit that we're going to get to in the next couple episodes. But all the stuff that I know about Teddy and Ellay and the Mount Itohi region from the encyclopedia and the game, I put it into a blender and tried to kind of, in order to express Teddy's backstory in a meaningful way.
His gang's pretty important, but you actually elaborated quite a bit on that, right? Because Koyano's like the only named friend in the encyclopedia. The rest of them you kind of just put together from other clues and pieces that you had.
Yeah, well, so part of Teddy's story arc has something to do, it's not really vocalized in the game clearly, but it has something to do with his perception of strength and weakness. And then he's the leader of this gang, but clearly is disenfranchised from this gang. And there's a lot of drama in the story, but it wasn't told in any kind of literal sense. So I felt that I needed to show Teddy's parents. I needed to show Teddy's relationship with his parents, which, had to have some kind of emotional balance to it in order for him to go on this vengeance quest.
And it's implied in the game, and I take it in the encyclopedia, that the Black Blood Gang, or the BB Gang, it's implied that they're much larger than what we have portrayed in the audio drama, right? I mean...
It doesn't say anything about numbers at all.
But as far as just the NPCs that you run into in town that attack you, that kind of all seem to be, members of the BB Gang, there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. So, it's a little bigger. There are other members. I'm not meaning to imply that the people who are on, quote, on screen in this episode are the only members of the Black Blood Gang. These are just Teddy's closest entourage people.
I mean, when I was playing the game, I was kind of under the impression that there was one big gang in Ellay and Teddy was the leader of it, and that was it. There weren't rival gangs and things like that.
Right, but the encyclopedia clearly says that there at least were.
Right. And that makes total sense. It's just, I don't think you have any run-ins with any of them in the game.
No, I mean, there's just so much that's missing from this. Teddy has such a cool, weird backstory. Just to reiterate, yes, Koyano is name-dropped, as you've heard in the notes, and then everybody else, like Ricky, Dizzy, Memphis, Lacey, all of them I have invented whole cloth, but I tried to use a lot of different pieces of reference material for things that felt appropriate. For example, the Jet Lizards is clearly referencing West Side Story, which then gets referenced again in EarthBound. So I pulled in some aspects of West Side Story into my interpretation of the Black Blood Gang. And I looked at things like 1950s teen hooligan melodramas like Rebel Without a Cause to kind of get the tone right. And then also there were some later references like Twin Peaks hadn't come out when EarthBound Beginnings and Mother happened, but Itohi has a strong affection for David Lynch's work. So I looked at things like the Roadhouse in Twin Peaks and James Hurley and those characters, because if Itohi's vibing off of those things, then that would be great. Now, the one piece of research that I couldn't quite pin down for this episode is Itohi mentioning those dudes from the Yakuza movies. And they're revered actors, and it's not impossible to see movies with them in it here in the States. but there is actually it turns out, a ton of Yakuza movies that it's really difficult cross-language-wise to pinpoint which films they are both in which you could get this, like the quote of a funny role, sort of like Koji Tsuruda in a Ken Takakura movie. They've been in a bunch of movies together. What are the ones that he's talking about there? I have not actually been able to identify which ones those are. And then beyond that, figured out how to watch them in the United States or get a hold of a copy of them that I could understand.
Yeah, well, if we go back to Japan, it might be something worth looking into.
Yeah, to get a little bit deeper into that. Because, I may have mischaracterized Teddy entirely if I was using that exclusively as the basis, because I don't know anything about that. I've taken what I've seen of him in the game, how he's been written in the encyclopedia, and then these other pieces of reference material for kind of the genre that Teddy appears to come from, and what Yakuza movies I have seen, and just kind of put them in a blender to approximate this character who has a bunch of backstory, but is also very vague, and has a role in this game that is kind of odd.
Maybe not what you would expect.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
So this is a note to be clear about what's going on with the audio drama, because we, up to this point, have been pretty strict about we want this to replicate the game's experience, augmented by the information that we get from the encyclopedia, and to tie it all together. But in this case, we could have had Teddy just show up where he just shows up in the game, but then
it wouldn't make for good storytelling.
Yeah, then we'd have to have him flashback. He meets Ninten, Anna, and Lloyd, and then at some point, starts brooding and does a flashback. It just seemed like this is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for coming with us on this very strange episode of Mother, She Wrote. We hope you enjoyed it.
And we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program with the next episode.
Yes, and this is it. This is the beginning of the final arc of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
strap in.
Yep. We'll see you soon as we begin the ascent of Mount Itoe.
Until next time, I'm Jess.
I'm Kat.
And that's all she wrote.
Mother, She Wrote is made possible thanks to the generous support of our producers, Amber Devereaux, Austin Brown, Becky Scott Fairley, Bob Hogan, CB, Danielle McDonald, Joe Tankrasiardelli, Josh King, Max Hansen, Mjolnir MK86, Patrick Webster, Sean Hutchinson, Sean T. Red, and our super deluxe executive producers, Big Bad Shadow Man, Marcus Larson, and Jamieson Lalone.
You can join the team on Patreon or supporting cast. Just head to mothershewrote.earth/support. And if you think Mother, She Wrote is simply smashing, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. And be sure to subscribe via your favorite podcast player.
This series is recorded and produced in Orlando, Florida and Louisville, Kentucky, on lands stolen from their indigenous people, the Timucua and Seminole, and Shawnee, Cherokee, Osage, Seneca Iroquois, Miami, Hopewell, and Adena.
Acknowledgement of the first peoples of these lands and the lasting repercussions of colonization is just the beginning of the restorative work that is necessary. Through awareness, we can prompt allyship, action, and ultimately decolonization.
For links to aid Indigenous efforts and to learn more about the First Nations of the land where you live, visit omniverse.media/landback.
Mother, She Wrote is written, produced, and performed by me, Jessica Mudd.
And me, Kat Blackard. This episode features Christian Young as Teddy. The Black Blood Gang is performed by Alexander Hakeem Stravinsky, Harley Takagi Kaner, Jason R. Mellon, Joshua Elon, and Kate Jones, with additional performances by Josh Rubino, Marguerite Croft, and Tina Case. Harley Takagi Kaner was our casting director for the Black Blood Gang, and our original score is composed and performed by Jessica Mudd.
Mother, She Wrote is not affiliated with Nintendo, Shigesato Itoi, or any rights holders of the Mother and EarthBound intellectual properties. Please play the game's official Nintendo releases.